Live. Good
Thank you.
morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hey, you stole my line.
Go ahead. You could steal mine.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Rara is in the house. Dr. Energy's in the house.
So good to be here.
It is. It is. And I'm really excited about today's stream because this is the one that our audience, that our community was asking us for. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, hey, maybe we should do something about communication and communication styles. And so here we are.
So it took us a few weeks to get to them on it.
It was only 2 weeks ago that they asked for it, and we had already had our topic
Yes.
last week planned.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and we actually bumped what we were going to do this week to next week, which is April showers bring May flowers, and we'll have that next week. So,
Well, we look. Rob Thomas is here. Hello, Rob. Thanks for being here with us. Well, let's get right into communication styles and communication skills and what what do we do when we're talking to people? Are we gathering information and are we giving it to them straight, or are they losing it? A day without laughter is it? Or are we losing their attention? Do we have them close to us or not? Let me open the door with something that I've been using for about 13 years now.
sure.
I'll start with Colby. I know we talk about a lot of different
Right.
things here. You're so funny. Whose mug is that you want to?
That was given to me by my niece
Oh,
for
see?
a birthday or a Christmas present or something. I can't remember.
And she knows you to the core, right?
Yeah, and it's also her philosophy as well. So it's a great philosophy for a 16-year-old to have.
It definitely is. All right, I'm going to jump into Colby. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Colby. I won't tell you all about it. You can Google that. I won't tell you what your fingers can go do the walking on, but I'll tell you a little bit about my communication style. So this is my conation, my innate ability. And if you know anything about Colby, you know that there are 4 indexes. One is a fact finder, one is a follow through, one is a quick start, one is an implementer. So I'll give you my numbers and then I'll tell you just a little bit about it. Then we can move on to another style. My fact finder is a 7. My follow through is a magic 5. My quick start is a 6, and my implementer is a 3. So in fact finding, I specify. So I initiate action when it comes to fact finding. In a follow through, I maintain. I'm a magic 5. So let me tell you what that means. You can come into my house and I can have a military drawer with everything lined up, or you could come into my house and I could have a very small space that is totally not lined up and organized, but it's the way I need to do it. So I could follow through with you to the umpteen degree where you think I'm an Irish Terrier. I don't know if that makes sense, but love bull terrier, not an Irish Terrier. Or you can say, my goodness, how did you just let that fly by you? My quick start, I modify, which means that I react. So if you're fast, quick start, like my husband, I just go with it. I personally am not going, I'm a learned quick start. I'm not going to go there first. My highest number is my fact finder. I'm going to lead with my fact finder. My second number is quick start. I'm going to come in the door with my quick start. Then my third number is my follow through, which is a 5. And then I am going to envision as an implementer. An implementer is farmer's tools. So when something breaks, what do? I look to buy another one. I look to replace it. I look at it and say, yeah, that's broken. All right, I might try it, but I'm really not going to lead with that. I envision it. The good part about that is I don't need to build it to see it. I can see it while you're speaking. My implement mentor is big vision. So some people need to put it all together and put those pieces together so that they understand where they fit. I understand where they fit because my mind does that work. I don't need to do it with my hands because I'm not really good at that. And the funny end to this story is my husband and I built a bookcase about 4 years ago. And before that, we built something about 5 years before that. And that's about how we do things. Yet, our friend Elena asked us to go and help her move. And we built, I would say, 5 pieces of furniture as if it really was nothing. because we have a learned ability. Doesn't mean we weren't sweating. We were a little out of alignment, but we did it because we knew that we could. And when you do something that's out of alignment, you sort of get a little like, tired. So stay in your zone, know what they are. That's a little bit about Kolbe.
So I can't remember my numbers off the top of my head. I forget. If I remember correctly, though, I was high on the implementer scale as well, the big picture. However, I do like to put things together and take them apart, put them back together, see how they function. You know, as a kid, I remember having that at the slot car racetrack, the electrical race cars going around the slots on the racetrack and taking the cars apart and putting them back together. So how do we communicate with somebody, or how do we learn to communicate with somebody like yourself, Rara, who is a quick start, high fact finder? Like, how would we recognize that in somebody so that we could communicate more effectively?
Well, I'll give you an example. If somebody's talking too much, they're going to lose me because I'm just part of that is what we're going to talk about in terms of an auditory learner. I have a little bit of everything. So you'll watch what I'm doing. You'll see, you should always check if someone's engaged, right? It doesn't matter if you know if I'm a quick start or not.
Right.
But you know that if you want action, I'm the person to call. So if somebody's going to talk to me, right, you can vouch for that. If someone's going to talk to me about the thing they're going to do that they're talking about, after talking about it, I'm sort of tapped out.
Yeah.
You want to take an action, I'm there. So you'll recognize that in me. We were talking the other day, right? We said, how about, and I said, okay, let's start that next week. That's the way I think, because that's how I do it, right?
So you love a particular apparel and shoe company that says, just do it.
Just do it.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
That sums it up. Okay.
And for me, it's not a scary place to go. So how would you learn? You'll watch what people do. You'll listen to what they say. You'll watch if they are the sort who say, oh, I'm painting. Oh, I'm building this. You'll know they might be, if I say, well, I'm looking online to replace that G, you'll hear the words and then you'll know. You can go and look at their Kolbe. When it comes to quick start information, some people need more information than others, and they can't take an action until they get that information.
Right.
So if you hear someone saying, can I have a little bit more information? I need a little bit more before I decide. How would I get into the guild? I really don't know. How are the people there? What is it? If you hear that, you know that they need that in order to take the next step. So you'll listen for the cues.
Perfect. So let's move on to another system of communication or behavioral styles that people are somewhat familiar with, and that's the DISC system, D, I, S, and C. So D is dominant, I is an influencer, S is steady, and C is compliant. And we all have a mix of all four, and we operate and blend them together in different ways. And they, unlike the Kolbe, which is pretty fairly fixed, doesn't change much over time, correct?
Correct. It does not change.
Right. DISC can change. It has a little bit more fluidity to it, depending on how you move through life and what your current values are and that type of thing.
And let me just say, sorry, it doesn't change. There's 1% that changes, and then sometimes you can be in transition. So I didn't mean to make a definitive answer. I just meant to say it doesn't fluctuate with your personality or your exterior.
Like DISC. Yeah, DISC can. Okay, great. Thank you. So DISC, dominant. So if we look at it as in a circle, we would have in one quadrant up here, we'd have the D, and then we'd have I below it, then S, and then C. If we take the D and the C above the midline, those are people who are task oriented. And if we go below the line, the S and the I, those are people who are people oriented. If we go to the side, the D and the I, they tend to be more extroverted. And on the other side, the S and the C are more introverted. So what does this all mean? And how does this play out? I am predominantly an influencer. I'm a people-oriented, extroverted person. And when I get into something, the D, the dominant aspect, comes up where I make decisions quickly and my emotions can change very quickly and then they're over and done with. And I like to be around people. I like to be a part of something. The hallmark of an influencer, of an I, is somebody who wants to be a part of a community. So if you hear somebody saying, hey, do you want to be part of our community? Hey, be part of our group. I'm just looking for a place to belong. I'm looking for people to meet. That's probably somebody who's an I in the disc. The dominant is the person is, if you present them 3 different options, they'll have already made their decision before you finish giving the 3rd option. They come to decisions that quickly. They're just boom, boom, boom. They're on to the next thing. Those are the people that we would somewhat generally call the type A personalities. They're just boom, 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 go, go, go. The S is the introverted, people-oriented person. So they like small groups, family-oriented. They're the people that at a house party, they'll sit on the couch with 1 or 2 other people, also probably S's, having a deeper, more intimate conversation. And they're more than happy just to connect with 1 or 2 or 3 people at a time rather than trying to connect with a whole group of people. The C's are the task-oriented, introverted people. And the C's, they have their overriding emotion is actually about fear. Fear that they're missing information, fear that they're missing something that is going to affect the decision that they need to make or the direction that they need to go in. As you go around the circle D-I-S-C, the way people talk tends to change as well. The D's tend to talk very, very quickly. I's, similarly. S's are a little bit more slow. The S's are also the poker face people. To the rest of us, the S person looks like they're not showing much emotion. To the S, they feel like they're wearing their heart on the sleeve. For the rest of us, it just looks like they're not really showing a lot of emotion. And then the C, they talk kind of slowly to somebody like myself because it's diametrically opposite to the I. They talk slow with a lot of pauses. And for those of you out there who are not a C type of a person, me talking this slowly and with this many pauses is likely driving you crazy.
Totally. Sorry.
Right. But for the C, the person who's the C, who needs the moment in between words to integrate the information so that they can then go on, it's important. Because if we go too fast, they know that they're missing information that can help them make a decision or that is important for them to integrate, and they're going to feel like they're missing out. So that's sort of the big overview of the C.
Let's talk a little bit about the representational styles. We talk about this. Sounds like M&I. Let's talk a little bit about someone who is auditory, someone who's visual, auditory, digital, and kinesthetic learner. Mm-hmm. And when you come to us at BU Network and you take one of our modules, we actually go over this with you as part of our, I would say our complimentary introduction added value service. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So in the communication world, we hear the statistic that something like 70% of communication is nonverbal in nature. Now, I don't know if that stat is actually completely true because there's been other studies that have said it's not quite that high. Regardless, a large amount of our communication is nonverbal. And so how do we communicate? There are 4 main styles that most people are, and as Catherine mentioned, it's a visual, it's auditory, so sound or words, kinesthetic, which is feeling or sensing, and then auditory digital, which is more about words. And like with the disc, the pace at which we communicate drops as we go down that scale. So from visual all the way down to auditory digital, the communication pace actually drops, and for similar reasons. So a visual person wants to be looking at you when they're talking to you, and they want you to look at them when they're talking. Have you ever heard a parent say to a kid, "Look at me when I'm talking to you"? That's probably somebody who has a visually dominant communicator, learner, etc. They have a look to talk rule, meaning if you don't look them in the eyes, they think that you're not listening to them. Personally, my dominant score is actually auditory. So it's been more about sound and about words. And so for an auditory person like myself, I tend to want to turn my ear towards the mouth of the person speaking to me so that I can hear them better. Now, you can see the mismatch already with a visual person, that they're going to think I'm not listening to them because I'm not looking at them in the eye. So when I get with a visual person who says says things like, I see what you mean, let's have a look at what that looks like. Those types of visually oriented words and communication, I know I'm speaking with a visual person, so I will adapt myself a little bit and make sure I'm looking them in the eye and not turning my head quite as much as I normally would, so that they know that I'm listening to them, so that they feel seen and heard. You were going to say something?
I was going to talk about adapting. So as a multiple business owner, when you're speaking to people, when we're speaking to you right now, how will we reach you if you're not auditory, or if you're not visual, if you're not auditory digital? How will we get this information to you?
Right.
We might not. But if we're talking to you, if we do have a face-to-face, or we do have a phone-to-phone or Zoom-to-Zoom, whatever we got to do these days, we can learn to adapt. We can learn to recognize the cues. Like when we speak to children, like when we speak to someone who's old and say, let me speak up, or let me put we make these modifications to how we communicate to get the best message across. It's important to take a minute, a nanosecond, and figure out what that person is like, so that you don't have, as we said, have your words fall on. I said stagnant ears, deaf ears. You don't want your words to fall on deaf ears, because then you're not going to feel heard. And then you're going to be looking for validation. And then you're going to go down this rabbit hole of a whole line of behaviors, when really you just want to go from one point to the next. If you find yourself repeating yourself, it's because you don't feel heard. So think about that.
Right. And the whole point of these communication styles is so that we can connect with our audience. And we need to be able to adapt our message across the different spectrums in order to connect with everybody. Now, the largest percentage of our population does tend to be visually dominant, then auditory, then kinesthetic, and then auditory digital. So let me just quickly mention again, like we talked about visual and auditory a little bit. Let me talk a little bit about kinesthetic and auditory digital. Kinesthetic is somebody who senses and feels. They want to put their hands on something. They want to get something. So if we talk to them and say, let's grab a contract and see, and we'll figure out how that feels to you. You're going to be speaking their language. They're going to be right with you. Whereas if you said to them, let's have a look at a contract and see how that looks to you, they're going to disconnect. We're going to lose the rapport that we have with the person. And then auditory digital, similar to the S in DISC, their emotions are so powerful to them that they need to put distance between their emotions and their experience. So they use one word to describe 5, 8, 9 different emotional states for them. So they may say something like, that's interesting, or that was an experience, or I understand what you're saying. So they're process-oriented words that they will use in their communication. And they tend to speak a little bit slower, again, because the emotions are actually so powerful that they can feel overwhelmed by it. So when we can adapt our messages across the different styles, we are going to connect with more people. And when we can identify somebody in front of us, if we're one-to-one, what their style is, we can build a rapport with them, a connection with them more quickly and more easily, and then continue on from there.
Now, that leads me to two things. One, if you're in the audience and you have something going on about communication, put it in the chat. Let us hear about it, number one. Number two, if you're not doing so well in this department and you're thinking, I'm just not getting this about my clients or my audience, I'm really not too sure where to go with this. It all seems like Greek. I don't mean to Italian.
Greek, Italian, Latin, whatever.
Seems like another language to me.
Martian.
Right. Then maybe you want to go through the process of taking one of those tests and then see if it resonates with you. I also like to use Perry Marshall marketing DNA when we talk about sales. I use this in the bridge as well. So this will really give us a clue and a key to how you are in sales. So if you go through it yourself, you might say, oh, okay, that's me. I understand it, or it's not me. And then you probably can transpose that information and see what it's like when you're speaking to someone else. So in a couple situation, I'll share something that I did with my husband. I took my Kolbe, he did his Kolbe, we did an A to A. We compared it. I wanted to know where we were going to get into trouble, considering we had been married and divorced. So we said, let's do that comparison. And we found out that we had low oh my goodness, I was going to say low problematic. We had low conflict, excuse me. And in low conflict, that led us to understand that we were not going to butt heads. But when something comes up, I'll remind him and he'll remind me, like, we're both a 2 and a 3 an implementer. If that's broken, let's not go there. We're just going to get frustrated. Let's not do that. Let's just high level vision it. So if you have someone in your life, whether it's a business partner or someone you live with or your team, you might want to implement this to understand a little bit more what's actually going on. So we do this. I use this in one of my other companies and I do this at home. I like to know who I'm talking to. So we invested some time and some money, and 13 years later, we're still using this tool and it helps us to communicate. So Grimsbill says, even at 54, I seem to have issues communicating effectively. Take the test. Yeah, sure. Take the test, see what it looks like. And then remember when you do take these tests that there's a mindset to take it. So if you want to talk to either one of us beforehand, like, we're more than happy to give you a 5-second high level recommendation on that.
Absolutely. And, at any age, at any point in our life, it's useful to learn how to communicate better. I remember reading a book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, and he took this technique and went into gang areas and slums around the world, and he's worked at high levels with diplomats and used the techniques of opening up the communication lines so that everybody that's in the moment in the group or one-to-one, that we can keep our walls down. We don't have to put up our walls to protect ourselves. Because what happens is, as we start to communicate with people and something comes up that maybe we don't feel comfortable with, we tend to want to raise a wall to protect ourselves. So if we can communicate in each other's language more effectively, so basically translating across languages, you probably know of the 5 love languages, that's another style, then we can communicate and respond in the other person's language to some degree. The message is going to be received more easily with less stressfulness, and the walls will tend to stay down. So for example, my number 1 love language is physical touch. Just being near somebody, leaning up against somebody, touch on the shoulders, you walk by, all of those types of things are important to me. So if you buy me stuff, it's nice, but it's more like, hey, how's it going? And putting a hand on my shoulder, or those types of things are much more important to me.
That's good to know, Dr. Energy. I wanted to elaborate and give a shout out, first of all, to Colleen Lindbergh, because Colleen Lindbergh is the awesome person who introduced us to Kolbe when we started the bridge, and we did 78 Kolbes together in order to create that whole wave of understanding. And I wanted to share, I didn't ask for permission from my husband, but I'm going to take it anyway. So in the comparison...
You can always ask for forgiveness.
I'll ask for forgiveness later. I wanted to share the comparison A to A report, just give you like a quick what it says, because I wasn't very clear before. And I wanted to give some high fact finders the information. It says, you and David have equally powerful co-native strengths. This report provides insights and tips to optimize your collaborative efforts instead of wasting time and energy with disagreements, communication issues, and redundant work efforts. Our potential conflict level, there are 4. How we gather and share information, it's very low. How we organize, very low conflict level. How we deal with risks and uncertainty, medium, and how we handle space intangibles, low. So the only place that we would have some medium risk and uncertainty is how we deal with risk and uncertainty. My number in a quick start is a 6, his is a 9. So I'll just share my fast start. My numbers are 7, 5, 6, 3. My husband's numbers are 5, 3, 9, 2. So he leads with the quick start, comes in with the fact finder. I come in with the fact finder, lead with the fact finder, come in with the quick start. And then the next numbers that we have are both follow through and implementer. So you can look at that. And when you're with a person that you care about or a team that you're producing with, it's important to know where you're going to have some difficulty and some trouble. We should pull your numbers out. I was looking for your numbers.
I've got them right here. 4385.
4385. Okay, so my fact finder is a 7, you're a 4, your follow through is a 3, mine's a 5, your quick start's at 8, I'm a 6, and your implementer is a 5, and I'm a 3. Now, it doesn't mean that 5 is low. 5 obviously is high, right?
Yeah, like it's not 1 is better than 10 or 10 is better than 1. It's just simply where you are on the continuum of how you blend those characteristics.
I'd love to have that so I can remember that when you and I are doing projects. I will send you mine right now, and then you can send me yours. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. It's good to have that, especially here we are talking about it. Like how do you remind yourself when you're I'll send it to Inquire. When you're speaking to someone and you say, well, what's going on there are you tired? Am I tired? Oh no, that's the communication skill that we want to know about one another. And we work really closely together. Mm-hmm. So, we could forget for a minute, it might be possible. And we don't want to take it personally, like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not speaking your language. Okay, let me change that. And that's how we could avoid wasting time. Forget about conflict. We're not interested in conflict. That's a waste of time. We just don't want to waste time, period.
Exactly.
I sent it to you, Dr. Energy.
Perfect. Yep. So there are all kinds of, there's also, people know the Myers-Briggs personality inventory as well. Hey, Landon. Great to have you here. I'm glad you're getting something out of this. So, people are familiar with Myers-Briggs personality inventory, the MMPI, like all those things. There's another one as well called How to Fascinate by Sally Hogshead. And in that, I test out as what's called prestige. So for me, it's about the language of excellence. It's basically, I want to get things done. I want to accomplish things. I want to be results oriented, and I want to be respected in my life. And so those are sort of the things that fuel me as I go on. So every program that we create here at BU Network must be infused with excellence. And it must be at the highest level. We want to give you the best information. Otherwise, I'm not interested in doing it. And so this works out for you because we're putting our best into it.
You don't want to half it.
Yeah, we don't want to half-A it, right? So we want to be able to have those high standards. We want to be able to deliver the...
Meditate.
And one more time.
Here's a reminder. Meditate.
Thank you. So when I combine this characteristic, this prestige characteristic of myself into what we're doing, I feel better about what I'm presenting to you. I feel better about myself, and I feel better about what we're putting out there in the world. So these are the ways that we can use these things.
Right. And one more thing about when we're speaking to our client, our tribe, our culture and community, if it's something that you're not familiar with and you want to learn a little bit more about it, like I said earlier, we could actually touch on that when it comes to presenting, when it comes to being in front of the camera, thinking, well, what do I need to know that for? Like I'm in front of the camera. Nobody's there. I don't really have to worry about that. You might want to take another perspective on it, because when you do present to a camera, to an audience, live or otherwise. Hopefully they're live, meaning they have a pulse. You want that audience
That's alive.
alive. You want them to have a pulse that really goes strong. You want to be able to reach your target market. And
Right.
that's what we will apply this to when you communicate with us about that.
Right. So learn how to more effectively communicate with your audience, whether it's on camera, whether it's in a blog post, a new email newsletter, a Facebook post, a LinkedIn post, whatever it might be.
Send out cards,
whatever it might be, a speech. Learn how to incorporate different styles of communication into what you're doing. And yes, we want to be ourselves as much as possible. We still want to communicate from our own innate style. And we also want to be able to help translate that into the other languages as well. People will appreciate that you make the attempt to communicate in their style. And then once you take, because the best way to connect with somebody is not just to say, hey, grab them by the hand and then say, hey, come on over here into my world. It doesn't work that way. We have to build the trust first with somebody. We actually have to step into their world. So we actually have to step into your world first to be able to make that connection with you before we can then invite you through the doorway into our world. Which for some people that might be a scary thing, and we get that. However, we do need to build that, and not everybody's going to come through the door with you, or they may not come through the doorway the first time with you. It may take several times, and we have to be okay with that. You're not going to grab everybody the first time. You're not necessarily going to get somebody from A to Z in one meeting. You may only get A to B, or even halfway from A to B, and that's okay.
We're not chocolate.
We're not for everybody. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, you think about what little kids do, right? Like they have something, they show it to you, like here,
Right.
You want it. And if you don't go for it, what do? They go to the next person.
Right.
So it may not happen on the first try.
Exactly.
Let's talk about, well, whenever you're ready, but let's touch on Steve. I want to talk about him.
Okay. Let's
Are
do
you
it
ready?
now.
Yeah, let's do it
Absolutely.
now. So excited about Steve Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
We are in your mailbox, and hopefully we are in your mailbox, we would like you to go check it out, whitelist us, put us right where you want us in primary, and let's tell you who we dropped today. What did we do? We dropped our newest episode with Steve Anderson. Awesome. Oh, I love what you did. Look at that. Look at you.
There we go. Back there.
Awesome. So Steve Anderson, go for the gold.
So Steve is a transplanted Kentuckian living in Canada, in Toronto, and he has been a 5-time Olympian coach of volleyball, beach volleyball, and is the first and only African American to win the gold medal as a coach of a volleyball team. So we had a wonderful and amazing conversation with him, and there were so many topics that came up that we just, there wasn't, maybe we're going to have him on another time. What do you think?
Yes, because that conversation was not only easy to have, but when we were going through what we have to do, obviously, what you and I both do, and when we listened to him, it wasn't enough.
Right.
Like I felt like I really wanted to, keep that conversation going. And we have conversations before and after we do our podcast, of course. And yes, we should have him back on. And please go listen to him. Listen to what Steve has to say. He's got a great voice. He has amazing content, right? He's just smooth. It was a really nice show to do. All of our shows are unique and we enjoy all of them. And this one was really special as well. So go over to our podcasts over on our website. Yep, our page. Or you can go to our page, or you can subscribe to us somewhere else, and you can go grab it there. But we want you to go to our website because we want you to tell us what you think.
That's where you can get all the information and stay in the loop with us. So
yeah, get sticky with us.
Like Velcro.
Connect. Okay, so what about connecting? Let's talk about that a little bit. When someone goes to connect with us, what are they going to get?
Well, it depends where and how they connect with us. If they connect with us here on Facebook, they're going to have access, obviously, to the lives, the Facebook lives that we do on a weekly basis. If they sign up for our email, they're going to actually, and let me just drop that link. Let me go find it here. Hang a sec. If they sign up over, yeah, I know. It's like walk and chew gum, right? So if they sign up for us on our email list over here, and I'll pop that in the comments, you'll actually get a email sequence on how to present like a pro. It's a seven email sequence with a video attached to it that you can view on our website on tips that you can use right now to start presenting like a professional and being you presenting like a professional. And so that is a great place to start. Also, you'll be on the list then to receive notifications about our podcast and also our live streams, what our topics are going to be. We send that out on Tuesdays.
And we have a little secret with our YouTube channel that we are nurturing. You know, we have a robin that just laid some eggs, and I watched the work that she did. She had to build a nest. She was so bad at building that nest. And then she finally built it, and then she sat in it and she laid the eggs, and then she sat on the eggs and she hatched them. And now she's feeding those babies, and those little babies are crying every minute, and she's running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that reminded me, I look at them every day and it reminds me of our YouTube channel. It's like, we got to go feed it every day, back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that that David Foster talks about, the Impartial Geek, over at the creatortoolkit.com. When you're getting started out with content, be careful how many platforms you try to go to at the same time, how many you're trying to build at the same time, because this comes back to the half-aing everything, doing half a job on multiple things rather than whole jobbing something else. So although we do have the YouTube channel, we haven't actually been putting a lot of effort into it. We've been putting more focus here on Facebook and with our email list recently. So we're looking at building that more. We're still putting stuff on YouTube, but we're just not making a big deal about it at the moment. But we'd love for you to go over there and check it out.
No, it's a big deal to us, but we know that we don't want to dilute that good stock chicken soup or whatever soup that you like to have. We don't want to dilute it, but it's there. It lives there. And we are excited about our amazing lives that we've done with Cheryl Plouffe and Emily Milling. Mm-hmm. And those are amazing examples. I actually go there and I watch, what happened there, and those I listen to our podcast as well. I don't know if you ever had a chance to do that, but I listen to us, and I love our 10-second opening. I really get excited when we start with that. It's such a cool thing. You want to talk about Creator Toolkit?
Yeah, so the Creator Toolkit, that's a place where it's completely free, and you can go over there and sign up for it. It's actually a course that you can, with different phases in it, and it'll lead you through what you need to do to develop your content, whatever it might be. And the content you put out there may not have anything at all to do with live content like this. It might be all recorded video, it might be all one-on-one work, but it gives you a great structure, a great context to hang all of your content on. Because without that structure, without that context, all of that content's gonna be like a leaky bucket. You're always gonna be trying to plug the holes with your fingers, and you're gonna run out of fingers. But if you have a solid context from start to finish of how you work with somebody or work with an audience, it's gonna make more sense, and it's gonna make more sense to your audience because they'll be able to see the logical steps as you're going through, and they'll see that there's a start, a middle, and an end, and then what's that song again? Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, right? Closing time, that's the song. So even when you get to the end, it leads to the start of something new. So with having that context, it's so important.
Dr. Energy, did anyone have a question for us? Are you able to see that? I know we have comments. Are there any questions about communication styles?
I haven't seen any actual questions about communication styles, which I'm kind of surprised about. There was a few comments like Grimskull mentioned about, being 54 years of age. Same here. That, he still needs to learn how and struggles with communication. And hey, I've been studying communication and human behavior for over 30 years, and guess what? I still struggle with it sometimes. It still happens. We get locked up in our own head sometimes and forget that there's actually somebody else in front of us or on the other side of the camera that we need to actually connect with and communicate with.
Well, if there are no questions in the chat, maybe we'll get them privately. I just wanted to open it up if anyone has any questions, or if anyone has something that they want to say, please feel free. And you're here. Thank you for being here. Go in there and drop us a line or put a message in there. Connect. We'd like to know a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Dr. Energy, I feel like a coffee. Let's talk about this. I know we talk about it a lot. There you go. Buy me a coffee. Let's talk about what's going on there, because we have some stuff going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And
so the Buy Me a Coffee, we are, we've been going along and creating new content and getting inspired. Yes, Cindy was just going to ask us about that. So as we've been going along and getting inspired from your questions and comments and coming up with new ideas of being able to share more with you, our audience, we're making some changes over on Buy Me a Coffee. And for those of you who are familiar with the site, the Patreon website, Buy Me a Coffee is a similar type of site where you can have people can support you on a one-off basis, or they can sign up for a membership either yearly or monthly and get access to you in a different way. And so over on Buy Me a Coffee, we're actually creating content specifically for those who sign up on our membership. And where that content is coming from is questions from you, our community, that come up, or question that comes up in a podcast episode, or something that really strikes us as important from a podcast episode or a conversation here on a live stream. And then we're taking the time, Catherine and I, to make a video delving into that topic a little bit more deeply and posting it there for our members.
And Dr. Energy, did you just say we're going to go live? Not yet.
Go live with
Buy Me a Coffee on the 11th.
Is that what we said? I can't even. We've implemented so much stuff. I can't even remember.
That's okay.
That
So,
we did.
BU
So
voice.
Sure. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Yes. So BU voice. So on Tuesday, May 11th at 3
That's this coming
o'clock.
Tuesday.
Yes. So today's the 6th. So this Tuesday coming up. Exactly. I thought we were going to talk a little bit about BU voice. So you want to just push that out in some.
BU. Oh, right. I forgot about BU voice.
That's what I was talking about.
That's going to be going live either later. I was going to say later today, more likely tomorrow afternoon. So BU Voice is going to be sort of the second level of our membership on Buy Me a Coffee. And that is going to be, in addition to getting that members only content that I was just talking about, you'll also have the opportunity to be on a live Zoom call or digital meeting with Catherine and I. So you get both of us. And we're going to spend 30 to 40 minutes discussing whatever is on your mind about presenting, about communicating, about connecting, about building relationships, whatever it might be. That's what that's going to be about once a month.
And that's cool because it'll be the second Tuesday. Think about your voice. Think about if there's something you want to say or be heard. And let me say this, speaking of voice, thank you, Cindy, for buying us a coffee. Look at that. As we're talking about that, we appreciate you and your support, and we appreciate you buying us a coffee. So we're following the BU rules and putting up there like our goal and all of that. So you can go visit us and see what we have to say, read what we have to say, hear what we have to say, depends on how you learn, and go and see what we're doing and how we're developing that community. So aside from us picking a topic and speaking about it here, you have something that you want to specifically speak to us about, and you want to know the day and the time. Tuesdays at 3, once a month, the first Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Awesome. Second Tuesday. I know that.
You just said it.
And I said it, and then I was just thinking, So the second Tuesday of each month, I'll be there at the right time. But if you really want to take it a step further and you want to deep dive into that, then you can get with us privately. We want to give you as many opportunities and us as many opportunities to be with you at the level that you feel comfortable. If this is your jam, then that's great. If you want to get a little bit closer, just want to get some videos, that's great. If you want to get a little bit closer, like take the next level. So we're going to give you steps, and then we also can take those steps. So there will be a great, I'd say it's a nice progression. What do you say?
Beginning, a middle, and end. So you could think of the Facebook Lives as the beginning. Middle could be the first tier of membership on Buy Me Coffee, and third level, the ending or the closing could be the second level of membership on Buy Me Coffee.
Right.
And then where we go from there, we'll
right to us, right directly to us on our BU coaching, menu.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So thank you. Yeah, I just thought we'd get to announce that. We have so many new things going on.
It's a lot of fun and it's exciting. And I know that this weekend I'm going to be spending a lot of time editing, because that's sort of, I've gotten a little bit behind on some of our video editing. So there's going to be a whole bunch of content that's going to be accessible for our members after this weekend. So keep an eye out.
Love it. Love that kind of weekend.
Yes. All right. Well, I think this is a great place to tie a little bow and wrap things up. Wrap it up. That's the big signal from behind the camera.
Okay.
Or to draw it out, stretch it out, right? That's the signal you get from behind the camera when you got to fill time, right? Stretch it out. So we're gonna.
And it's not this.
No, that's like. No, let's be nicer. This has a little. Let's wrap it up.
I forget. I'm always Sicilian, right?
Yeah. Right. So let's wrap this puppy up today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate your time and your energy being here, your comments, questions, and your attention, most of all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Dr. Energy, once again, you never cease to amaze me.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.
See you on the other side.